and who's hurt and whose feelings are hurt. And we'll discuss this on this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast that starts now.
Alvarez hits a high drive center field. Beer leans back. This game is turned upside down. There's the runner. Fly ball down the right field line. Tucker comes on. Kyle Tucker. This time they finish the job.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On the Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on Twitter at Eric Talk Stros. Brett, where can they find you at?
I don't know. Why'd you come in so slow, man?
You know why I'm doing that. The guy who
Oh,
always
come on. Don't let the one person throw you off your game, man. It's all good. Hey, man, we do what we do, and you know what? We can't please everybody. This is H-Town Wheelhouse. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and TikTok. You can find me at Stros411 on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Always positive, always Stros. We got some good stuff to talk about tonight, Eric.
Yeah, guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, Google, wherever you listen to your podcast. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Astros podcast, and thank you for subscribing to us on YouTube. The numbers keep on going up. Give us a big fat thumbs up and keep on subscribing on YouTube and make us the most listened to Astros podcast all season long. All postseason long. Let's go, guys. So, yeah, the spring training has officially started. Pitchers and catchers reported. Dusty Baker has finally reported after he's been dealing with all the different awards that he's been getting. So, that's what happens when you win the World Series. So, definitely, we got a lot to discuss. Kyle Tucker, is his feelings hurt? Martin Maldonado's, his feelings are kind of hurt. Lance McCullers, is he hurt? That's some of the stuff we'll be talking about. What about Michael Brantley? Is he hurt? That's something that we've been kind of talking about all off season, but he's out there like playing first base, making throws. And so it looks like he's going to be healthy for the start of the season. So a lot has come out so far in the early stages of spring training.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of really good storylines, a lot of things to talk about. And when we get to the Kyle Tucker stuff, we'll talk about this in more detail. But I wouldn't be as concerned about Kyle Tucker the way that Brewers fans should be concerned about Corbin Burnes, because he was absolutely disrespected. And he came out and said, I guess a little bit more strongly
Right.
how the process he went through and the things he was told. And I talked about that the last episode that I did, was that Corbin Burnes basically said that the club told him that he was the reason why they lost in the playoffs. While I don't think that occurred with Tucker and the Astros, Tucker was clearly a little mystified by what the Astros had to say, but at the same time, he didn't sound overly concerned about it. $2.5 million in arbitration can mean a lot more money in the end, and that's why the Astros held their cards, and that's why it goes to a third party. It's part of the business. And one of the things, Eric, that I'll put up some sound later tonight or tomorrow with Dusty Baker talking about this actual things, and even we will add some Kyle Tucker comments in kind of the full interview. I'll throw that out within the next couple of days where people can hear it from him himself, and I know we have some of his quotes tonight. What did Garrett Cole say about the Houston Astros? Because he was talking about the Astros early in spring training.
Well, let's go back in time and just remember that the Astros swept the Yankees, the great Yankees with Garrett Cole and everything, and 4-0 in the ALCS, and it was a great memory. And this is what Garrett Cole had to say. I think it was just like a few days ago or yesterday. I forgot when it was, but he said, "We got waxed." So anytime you get waxed, it doesn't feel good, whether you're going to the salon or you're on a baseball field. So basically, he's relating being swept by the Houston Astros to getting all the hair ripped off your body just like that. So
Oof.
thank you, Garrett Cole. That's a great soundbite.
Yeah, I don't know that he meant actually going to like a European wax center and getting waxed, but I think because look, it was a painful experience for Yankees and Yankee fans, and we know all along. Yeah, please do not bring a wax strip on the show. That
Oh,
actually might be funny. Maybe if we do it for charity or something. But no, I digress. But yeah, look, the bottom line is this: the Yankees know who their daddy is. They know it's the Houston Astros. They know it's Jose Altuve. And until they can put a team out there to beat us, and I want to touch on this in the last segment about some odds, some playoff odds and World Series odds that FanGraphs came out because the Astros continue to get disrespected and that thrown at them at the beginning of the season. But at this point, it's part of the script, and we know how the script ends.
You know who keeps on getting disrespected across baseball? And that's Jose Altuve, but he does not get disrespected in Houston. He's treated like royalty. And I know Martin Maldonado had some good things to say about him. He said that you could see him walking across the street and say, how is that short guy the face of the Houston Astros? But he is. And he was asked as he reported to spring training, he said, well, Jose, how do you feel about Dana Brown saying that he would like to keep him here for good? He said, I like when he said that. I've been all my career here. I hope to retire here. I think we're on the same page. They said they want to keep me here. I want to stay here. I think that's great for both sides. And so that's good that he wants to stay here. And he added later that, he just kind of insinuated that he's not worried about the extension. He kind of gets a good feel from the team that it's going to happen. He's not going to stress about it. He's just going to go about his business and it's going to happen.
Jose Altuve is in a perfect position because he doesn't have to wonder. He doesn't have to spend 1 second or one iota of his time or effort or energy in that because he cemented his legacy in Houston with all his postseason heroics. Him, probably on the precipice of getting to 3,000 at some point before he retires, garnering the respect of everybody across the league. Jose Altuve has pretty much done it all. He has weathered the storm. He has gone through some ups and downs. But for the most part, the other day when I went to that Craig Biggio town hall meeting, he talked about how great Jose Altuve was. And I love Martin Maldonado's comments. And if y'all want to hear all of his comments at 10:30 after this show, you'll have to go check out the interview that I posted tonight. You'll watch that if you're listening. Go to the YouTube. If you're listening on Monday, go to the YouTube channel and check it out. Martin Maldonado, this guy is great, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like him. His defensive skills are diminished. Blah blah blah. Say what you want. Martin Maldonado is the captain of this team for all intents and purposes, right. And I know Jose Altuve pretty much plays that role. But Martin Maldonado says Jose Altuve is the face of the franchise. And what was funny was he was like, can you imagine walking through the mall and not knowing anything about baseball? And then someone tell you, hey, that's the face of the Houston Astros. You'd be like, there's no way. He's such a little guy. And he was kind of going at Martin Maldonado. Martin Maldonado was kind of going at Jose Altuve. But they do have fun, Eric, in the clubhouse. They do have a camaraderie. And Jose Altuve also mentioned about having Jose Abreu here and how he's a former MVP. He's going to miss Yuli. So I think this whole Yuli thing is really coming to a close. But look, the NBA season isn't closed yet. They just had the All-Star weekend. If you're listening on Monday, they probably had the All-Star game and they scored probably, I'm sure, 150 points each because there's absolutely no defense played there. But let me tell you, the best counter to a good defense is an even better offense. So if you're going to do that and you're into sports betting, you need to go to FanDuel right now. It's the #1 sports book in America. And new customers get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's in bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app today. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet on everything from the money line to point scores and 3-point strain. That's right. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So don't miss the chance to get your no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked on. That's FanDuel.com/locked on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Alrighty, so yeah, definitely Martin Maldonado was kind of in the news this weekend, and it was I think we kind of expected this. He lost about 17 pounds this year,
Yeah.
this offseason, and it was kind of a let me show you type of weight loss. And I think he was a little bit insulted that after playing hurt, he was playing with a fractured hand. Also, he was playing with the sports hernia, and he was dealing with all that, but he put on the catcher's mentality and went out there and caught a lot of games despite having the hurt hand. His defense did go down a little bit. He still had a career high in home runs last year, but he was kind of a little insulted that the Astros made a run for Wilson Contreras. And this is what he had to say. We just won the World Series. I felt like I sacrificed my whole body playing through the injuries for the team. I was a little sad, but I understand the business. I know as an owner, as a front office, they're going to always try to get the best position players available and help the team get better. Wilson was the best free agent catcher out there. I understand the business because it's not just Jim Crane went out there and said, we want to go ahead and look at upgrading the catcher. But Dusty Baker also made some comments at the winter meetings about Wilson Contreras and talking to him as well. So you have Martin Maldonado, who you said Biggio said was the field general, the guy out there helping all the pitchers. Christian Javier said, "This is my catcher. This is the guy to help me get to where I am." And you wanted to replace him. So did he want to be a backup, Brett?
That's right. I don't think he does. I mean, one of the reporters asked him, when are you going to retire? And Maldonado quickly responded, "Do you want me to retire?" I think it was Berman. And Berman was like, "Hey, no. That's not what I meant at all." Of course, Martin was kind of playing back and forth with them. It wasn't a serious, negative exchange. But there's a lot of people that had Martin Maldonado as the bullpen catcher going into last season. And the bottom line is this: even if they would have gotten Wilson Contreras, it was not because of his defense. It was because of his bat and his offense. So let's make that perfectly clear. Even with Martin's quote unquote declining skill set, he's still a better defensive catcher than Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras just isn't a great defender behind the plate. Catching is one of the toughest positions. You could be a starting catcher on a Major League Baseball team and not be one of the best defenders behind the plate. There's not too many guys that carry a big stick as a catcher and are also defensive catchers like a Yadier Molina, JT Realmuto. There are very few catchers who do both really, really well. So right. Martin Maldonado going into this season is perfect because they're going to mentor up Diaz and Lee. There was some footage I saw today of Lee gunning the ball to second base. Basically I think the B-roll or not the footage on Twitter was Corey Lee showing off his cannon. And we talked about that. Corey Lee is more of your defensive guy. Diaz is more known for your offense and which guy is going to win out. I think that competition is going to be great. I think what utility guys are they going to use? And this is what's interesting, Eric. If you just watch social media, watch Twitter today, you would have seen Michael Brantley with the first base mitt. You would have seen Jose Abreu taking ground balls at shortstop. You would have seen all these players taking different positions and fielding different positions. It doesn't mean Jose Abreu is going to start a series at shortstop. It doesn't mean that Michael Brantley is going to go to first. But
right.
You know what? Michael Brantley with his shoulder, first base might actually be an option, especially since you have Yordan Alvarez manning that left field spot in a more permanent basis, I would think.
Yeah, I kind of talked about that on Talking Stros, but I think that was more them just going out there and just having fun. Position players they weren't supposed to report yet, so this was just them just going out there being silly. So
I don't know if
Abreu playing short.
No,
Abreu is not going to be playing shortstop. Though.
Okay, not Abreu, But
Yeah,
Michael Brantley
I know.
was not on his knees taking short one hoppers, learning how to use a first base mitt without. Because I was thinking about this, Eric, thinking about his shoulder surgery, thinking about
Right.
his injury, and I don't think it was his throwing shoulder, but still,
No.
you have less wear and tear there at first base, and I can see Brantley as a first base emergency option if needed, not Abreu as a shortstop. That's just they were moving them around the bases. They're going to do that. But the Astros do that with their minor leaguers to make them a more desirable option once they make
Right.
it to the major leagues. But I totally could see Michael Brantley as a possible like third or fourth guy to take first
Right.
base. I mean, why not? That's
David
not.
Hensley or Diaz ahead of them, but yeah,
Well,
I see
yeah,
what you're saying.
yeah, but I'm just saying. I mean, that wouldn't be a bad option if you're worried about health and longevity for Brantley. I'm just saying. I thought it was kind of a cool. I was like, hey, that's actually a great idea.
So to circle back and answer my question I asked you, Martin Maldonado said probably not when asked if he would be a backup catcher if traded for or signed Wilson Contreras or traded for Sean Murphy. So
Oh yeah,
if you would have got one of those guys, he would have demanded a trade. And he actually said that this was a good motivation to say, yeah, okay, I thought y'all liked me, but now even the fans even took some. Yeah, I know the fans want the high batting average and everything. So he actually lost all the weight and worked on his hitting during the offseason to try to be better. So he was like, this maybe is a wake up call. Yes, he said that they don't pay him for the offense, but maybe he's going to take a little bit more time to work on his offense this year. And so does that mean he's become an all-star this year? No, but I think you may see a little bit higher batting average, maybe not 176 or whatever he finished last year, maybe in the low 200s or something. But you don't really need offense from Martin Maldonado if this lineup is clicking the way it's supposed to be.
yeah.
So,
You don't need that. I mean, look, David Sampson said it best. Teams that go out and get offensive catchers don't have offense in other places. This lineup is absolutely stacked.
right.
Chaz is going to garner that eighth spot really well. You've got 1 through 7. I
But,
mean,
Brett, did you hear that Dusty Baker said that Chas McCormick does have to earn that spot? He's not going to be given it.
well, yeah, I mean, but we all know who leads going into camp. It's Chas McCormick's to lose. I mean,
Yeah,
it is a competition.
right.
But who else right now is going to take his spot? It's not going to be Mauricio Dubon. It's not
Jake
going to be
Myers for the win.
it's not going to be Jake Myers. I would be really shocked. I would be shocked if Jake Myers overtook McCormick. Now, I'm a big Jake Myers fan. I like him, met him, talked to him. I love his attitude. I just think where he's at, he's got to like come out and make a complete 180 from what he was last year. And maybe he has. I mean, I haven't seen him. I don't even know what he's going to look like out there. He could have one banger of a spring training and take that job, but I think the probability of that happen is not very high. I think Chas McCormick has proven himself. He's going to get more ABs, and he's motivated because these guys are driven by competition, and I think it's healthy anyways.
Yes. So let's go ahead and address this. Tej, Texas says, hope Tucker has an amazing season this year and earns what he's wanting to in this business. And he was one of 19 players who took his team to arbitration this winter, and the 13 teams won. So Tucker was not alone. And I know a lot of people, you talked about Burns earlier, that there's some bad blood there, but both sides with the Astros said that there's no bad blood here, and that Kyle Tucker actually talked about it a little bit. He said the outcome wasn't what we were hoping. I don't think it was the right one. It is what it is at this point. I just want to go out there and fight for what my value was and what we wanted to do. I have respect for it and move on and worry about getting ready for his season. He said it was nothing like them trashing me. As a player, you view yourself and value yourself pretty high. I try to go out there and do everything well, whether it's defense, base running, hitting, home runs, whatever it is. The team values certain things over the others. It's just a difference of opinion. Nothing ridiculous or them trashing me or anything. There you go. Analytics are deciding the values of contracts. And so that's the difference of $2.5 million. And that is going to help the Astros down the road because the starting point is not going to be 7.5 million next year. It's going to be the 5 million next year. So that's going to help really a lot in that case.
Yeah, so the Astros are, going through this when they asked Dusty Baker today as well. They said, Dusty, what do you think? What do you tell guys like Framber, like Tucker, who are looking for extensions and, Tucker's situation? He said, I basically tell the guys, you've got to go out and perform. You can't just sit there and wait on the money to show up, because if you wait on the money to show up, it may not ever show up. He looked at, I believe it was John McClain from Gallery Sports, and he said, John, do you sit there at home and wait for a check to get in the mail? And he's like, no. He's like, you just keep working, right? And he said, that's my message to the guys. It's a business. There are things they can't control. And the more I listen to Dusty talk, the more I listen to Dusty's wisdom and understanding of the game and the business side of it, the more I'm not worried about those things. Like, that's what this club doesn't have. And that's another key part of the success of the Houston Astros. It's not just the talent on the field, it's the mentality off the field. And it's the mentality that drives Dusty Baker to mentor these young players and to tell these guys, you know what? We got to focus on this. Altuve was asked about the World Series. Tucker was asked about, they've all been asked about the World Series and are they going to win it? And what do you think about last year? And they're like, you know what? Okay, we may think about it, but in a couple weeks, it doesn't mean anything because we have moved on. We've got to focus on the here and now. We got to focus on going forward. Jose Abreu, they were like, what's it like being with a new club? And he's like, it's easy. They're champions.
Right.
It's easy to be around these guys. I just think the Astros are set up, Eric, to have another historic run. And I think getting back to the World Series and winning a back-to-back title is a little bit easier than it has been since it was last done by the Yankees because of the makeup of this club.
Yeah. And Tucker went on to say that before the arbitration hearing, him and the Astros did not have any discussions about a extension. And he says, I've told him I'm always open to talk. I enjoy playing here, playing for the fans, playing in Houston, being with the guys in the locker room. We'll see where it goes from here. And Brett, you have to wonder, maybe a box of Built Bars would help with the extension, maybe 2 boxes. But this episode is brought to you by Built Bar.
Now, look, I love Built Bars, but if they had the power to give players an extension and give them more money in their pocket and keep them here for life, I would gladly mail a box of these Built Bars, or I would just go down to Sam's Club or Walmart and grab one, because you can do that. Look, here's the deal, folks. If you are working on that healthy diet, you're trying to get that spring break figure because you're going to spring training and you're going to hit the beach and you got to look great, right? Well, why don't you grab yourself a box of Built Bars? They are wrapped in 100% real chocolate. They're even good for you with flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, coconut almond, so many more. And the macros are simply amazing. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and a whopping 17 grams of protein. Look, at Built.com, we've been telling you, go to this website, put this promo code in, and you can still do that. But what I want you to do is after the show or after work on Monday, head to Walmart, go to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can pick up a 4-bar box of cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs. And if you're close to Sam's Club, you can run in and grab a 13-bar box with our hit flavors, brownie batter, and churro. Go now. You'll thank me later. Built.com, the best bar in the biz.
I'm actually insulted, audience. Y'all always compliment Brett on his beautiful hats and everything, and I have a new hat that my girl got me, and nobody said anything. So yeah, I'm disappointed.
I mean, look, you gotta rock the flat brim, bro.
I don't do flat bills.
Well,
It
People,
doesn't look right on me. It looks like
the flat bill. No,
look at
that's
me.
not a flat bill. No, that's not. No, trust me.
I broke
Rock a
Chancey.
flat bill. No, rock a flat bill, and I promise you, people. What size hat do you wear, Eric?
I don't know, 17 and something. I don't know.
17s. No, it's 7 something.
I
I
don't know.
wear a 7
7
and
something.
5/8. Okay. So, anyways, so look. Oh, look right there. Nice hat, Eric.
Yeah. But anyway,
Nice hat. There you go.
you know who we haven't really seen with a hat on the field yet is Lance McCullers, and I know that last week we heard that he's been shut down temporarily because of soreness, and it doesn't seem like Dana Brown is worried about it. Doesn't seem like Dusty Baker is worried about it, but they said that he's shut down, but he's feeling pretty good. I don't know. It just seems like Lance McCullers, when he's healthy and on, he's good. But are you worried at all about this?
You know, I've said that it's going to be really key for Lance McCullers to be healthy all year long, and he's starting the year not 100% healthy. I'm absolutely worried about this for Lance McCullers. Now, of course, they're going to say they're not worried. Why would they say they're worried if there is something to really be concerned about? Because then you got all these storylines and they're going to start questioning Lance. There's something they're clearly monitoring and looking at.
Right.
But I personally am worried because Lance McCullers has just been marred by these recurring injuries. And someone even said in an article, and I don't remember who wrote it, but they said because Lance has refused, I guess, to have a certain surgery or put it off, that he's still having the same problem with his elbow. And look, I don't know all the medicals. I'm not even a medical trainer or a licensed professional doctor, but it just seems to me that this is a recurring theme. And Eric, what I think is eventually going to happen, and this is me kind of foretelling the future, if Lance's arm cannot stay healthy, this sets him up to be moved into a relief pitching role, into a back end role with this team, and sets up nicely for Hunter Brown to go out and have a really good season. I just personally, I'm not confident at all right now about Lance McCullers' health. Now, I hope I'm 100% wrong. I don't want to be right about this. I'm a huge Lance McCullers fan. He's been on the show. He's a great guy. He does a ton for the city. But if you're asking my honest opinion, I'm absolutely worried about this.
Jay's probably nailing this. Do like they did last year, keep him down until mid-season and have him come dominate in the playoffs again like he did last year.
Well, except for that 1-5 home run game in the World Series.
Oh, yeah. Oh, shh.
I'm just saying.
We don't talk about Bruno. No. We don't talk about Bruno.
Well, okay, look. We have absolutely buried the lead here, though, Eric. Do you know the lead for our show tonight is really the GOAT, Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve wants to retire a Houston Astro. And Dana Brown wants to keep him a Houston Astro.
We already
You know
talked
what I'm
about it, I
saying?
thought.
Well, I mean, yeah, we did, but look, you know what? We did talk about it.
Yeah.
We did talk about it. We actually let off with it. My bad, dude.
Yeah, it's totally okay. But you know what we do need to talk about is the
What's
fact
up?
that Luis Garcia had to change his windup.
He
And
did.
so he cannot no longer do the Rockabye Baby. And so this is something that he was told about in December. And so if you listen to the Brian McTaggart edited audio, you can hear that everybody was waiting to talk to him about it. And he said that Garcia was like, yeah, it's fine. I'll just make the change. And everybody was looking at the video, and it's just like a typical pitch now. I mean, he's just kind of just the typical delivery, and it's just I think it's gonna be a seamless thing. I think that was probably always illegal, and it was always a balk the way he kind of rocked back and took a few steps back and forth. So I think that this is baseball kind of cleaning up on some of that, but it was kind of cute for him to be able to do that. But I think it did slow the game down a little bit. But it's good that Major League Baseball gave him and the Astros time to recover. And something that I do want to talk about, we're not going to have time to talk about it on this podcast, but definitely Matt Gage. There's an interesting story about how the Astros were able to get him to Houston. It wasn't just a typical waiver claim. And
Yeah.
Ryan Presley, speaking of the pitch clock, he's actually against it. And if you think about it, he's kind of one of, not Luis Garcia, but Ryan Presley takes the most longest time to throw a pitch, if you think about it.
Yeah. I
And
think this. Yeah. I think this pitch clock thing. I think the rule changes. I don't like them. I'll be real honest. I even though I hate the shift, I'm not for a total ban. I think they should give teams a limited number of shifts to do in a game. I think the throwing to the base thing, limiting the pickoff move, is an absolute stupid rule. I think it's really, really cockamamie. Buster Olney went after a fan earlier today on Twitter, basically saying that he needed evidence that people were against all these rules. He needs empirical data, and I'm like, well, let me tell you the data I have. It's all the data that is our audience that we interact with on a daily basis, not just on the show but online. And every baseball fan says absolutely the same thing. Who are you trying to reach that you're not already reaching? Like, honestly, non-baseball fans aren't going to, like rugby fans aren't going to go, you know what, I'm going to go watch baseball because it's 15 minutes shorter. I'm sorry. That's a bunch of hogwash. It's a bunch of bullcrap. I think the game's changing too much. I don't like all the changes, but there will be teams, and Craig Biggio talked about this, that are talking about shifting, taking the left fielder and putting them in shallow right center, because that's not against the shift ban. The shift ban has only to do with infielders. It says nothing about where outfielders have to be. So you're going to see some left fielders going into right field, much like Jose Altuve would if they were doing the shift. At the end of the day, the major league players will adjust. The professionals will make the adjustment, and the game may be a little bit more exciting offensively. But
right.
to think that there's going to be 12,000 more fans in the seat per game because suddenly they change the rules and the game's 15 minutes shorter, I think is complete bullcrap. And if you believe that, Buster Olney or any national media guy, then you are simply a shill for Major League Baseball, and that's it.
Well, I'm gonna put my Kyle Tucker hat on and give you his thoughts of all the rule changes. I would prefer not to play 5-hour games. That's all we got for this edition of the Locked On Astros podcast. We will be back tomorrow. And thank you, as always, for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen, whether it's on YouTube, Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, Google, wherever you tune in to the Locked On Astros podcast. Thank you. And go and make sure you subscribe to us and give us a big fat thumbs up. And we'll come join us tomorrow. My name is Eric Huysman, and he is Brett Chancey. We are the Locked On Astros podcast, and go Astros.